Creator of all that is. It seems much precious time is wasted on the subject of our freedom and free will. We hear, what you resist, you attract, yet resist we must. So guide us here, our humble request, and shield us while we focus our attentions on what we do want, not on what we find detestable and deplorable. We know this distasteful awareness of vile evil must be seen, to know what it is we must never allow. Yet it is so very dark and fearsome. Many, too many, dare not go there. So we pray ever that we are given courage, fortitude, direction, and protection as we fight this battle of evil against your divine goodness. Let our will be thy will. And so it is.
Thank you, Charlie.
My pleasure.
Charlie White's the boss. My name's Ron Vroman. I'm the old white man talking head for the Oregon Statewide General Assembly. Uh, I want to talk about education, and that's the subject that the grand jury is meeting on. And I want to speak about personal experience with the Beaverton School District, the Department of Education, from the top all the way down. The thing that tipped me over the scale in 2014 was a Marine walked his daughter to school, and he was carrying a sidearm. And they arrested him for walking his daughter to school carrying a sidearm. And I thought, how can that be? That's impossible. And it set me off. But I'd already been carrying a gun for, I don't know, a year or two. I carried it everywhere. I went and got a concealed carry permit. And this was before I understood all of the ramifications of what was going on. But I had a concealed carry permit, so I used it. And they were having a meeting at the Beaverton School Board. And I forget the subject now, 2015, I think it was. And I said to Camby's, would you like to go to this meeting with me at the school board? He said, what on? Blah, blah. So we went together. And when we got there, the joint was packed. I mean, it was packed. Whatever the school board was doing at that time, and I forget, was just really ringing the bells of all of these mothers. And they were everywhere. And they were stuffed in there. And Cam and I were sitting in little chairs way in the back, and there was two cops behind us. That becomes pertinent information later on. So we went and spoke and told them what we thought. And after the meeting was over, I started communicating with the school board. I said, I want to go to the Beaverton High School. My third daughter graduated there, and I have some information about that school that I'd like to check out. And they said, no, you can't. What do you mean I can't go to the high school? Just a minute. Well, I most certainly can go to the high school. No, you can't. Well, how am I going to see the curriculum? We'll have the books delivered to your house for the high school, and you can look at the books. And I said, the books isn't what I want. I want to see what's on the blackboards. I want to see what's on the bulletin boards. I wanted to see what's going on. And they said, no, you're not going to do that. Well, it went round and round and round. And so I thought, well, let's just bring this to a head. So I called up the sheriff, the police department, the school district. I forget who. I called four places and I said, I'm going to be visiting the Beaverton High School as a visitor. And I always carry, and I want to make sure that the rules or the laws or something hasn't changed in the carry permit uh, part of this thing. And they said, no, no. The only place that you can't carry is in a building where there's a court. Okay, so nothing's changed at the high school. That's right, nothing. So I made a point in each one of these 4 locations what I was going to do. And then I went and did it. And parked my car, went inside. Lady opened the door for me. I walked over to the admissions area and I signed the login book. And as soon as I stepped out of the office, the administrative office, there was 3 cops and the head of security for the Beaverton School District confronting me. Well, why are you confronting me? Well, you can't be here. Well, why can't I be here? And I've read the laws on trespass and I know what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything wrong. And the argument got pretty strong. And the director of security for the Beaverton School District said to the 3 cops, take him. And they did. And they slammed me up against the wall. They made my head bleed. And they took my gun and my holster and my belt and they handcuffed me and they marched me out of the high school. It took over 6 months for that to finally come to trial. It was a first degree, uh, no, a class A misdemeanor. That's 1 year in jail for trespass with a weapon. So Richard went with me and other people went with me and we went to learn, and there was a lot to learn because the law says the only one that can trespass somebody from a building is the person in charge of the building. And I had already checked with the school district and already checked with the state of Oregon's Department of Education who's in charge of the Beaverton High School. They gave me the principal's name. The only person legally and lawfully that can charge somebody with trespass at the Beaverton High School is the principal. Nobody else can do it, but they did. And they they just broke so many due process obligations that when I finally got to trial, and that was a trip. But when I finally got to trial, I was found not guilty of trespass with the firearm, and they gave me my gun back. But they found me guilty of simple trespass and put me on 2 years probation. Now, that confused me, but it didn't make much of a difference because I still had the 2 years probation. Along that time, uh, a lot of things happened. At the end of that trial, I had 19 incontrovertible due process violations on the record of that case from the beginning to the end. Every time they made a due process violation, I marked it down. It's on the record. You can't deny it. You read it, it's there. Like, for instance, one of them was when I had my arraignment, I asked Cam to film it, and Cam filmed it for about 30 seconds. And then they took the camera away from him and almost arrested him. But I asked for my camera back. I went up in front of the same judge and I said, I want my camera back. And he said, no. I said, I want my camera back. And he said, no. And then they told me to leave the court. So I did. But much later, like 2 years later, I went to small claims court in Beaverton. because I got the transcript of the trial. And the transcript of the trial shows Ron asking this judge to give the camera back twice. Okay. In the declaration I made for small business, for small claims, it said, did you make an attempt to resolve this? Well, yeah, I made an attempt. But then when the presiding judge of the Washington County Circuit Court turned in his, I forget the document, what it's called, but when he turned in his report to the judge answering my claim, he said in written form that he signed, Ron never asked for the camera back. Well, hell, and I've got the transcript of the trial, and I've got his deposition saying that I didn't. That's perjury. That's a presiding judge perjuring himself over a camera. That's the kind of stuff that I mean when I say I have incontrovertible evidence. So when these people that we're working with decide to go to the school district or go to the school board or wherever they decide to go, be really careful. You got to be really careful with these people. They are not playing by any known rules. They are doing pretty much as they please. That's why we have a grand jury. That's why we are taking them to court. That's why all of this is happening. And it's happening because we've lost our constitutional Republican form of government. And I yield.
What a story.
Yeah.
I've heard snippets of it, but I hadn't heard it all the way through, and that's quite a story. And, it's the kind of experience that a lot of people don't have, and therefore, what was it? You said something about people don't care unless their own ox is being gored. It's
Yep,
kind of
that's
like
it.
that, until you have that kind of experience where they're just not respectful, or even if they're respectful, but is pandering the word? Uh, they're so overly nice and accommodating. Like, how may I help you? But they're not helping, and they're not really wanting to help, but they're being artificial and polite, supposedly. But it would only take the wrong energy or word or action for them to slam you at the wall or on
I'd
the
like to,
floor.
yeah,
You,
I'd like to bring up one more thing before I quit. After I was off probation and after I'd gone to jail and gotten out and all of that, and everything was pretty much over. I didn't have any more probation or anything hanging over my head. So then I called up the school district and I said who I was. And I said, I want to come visit you guys and see if we can't resolve this. And they said, okay. And so then I called the Beaverton Police Department and first name basis with the chief. And I said, I'm going to be going over to the Beaverton School District to talk to the superintendent and other people there. And I thought it might be a good idea if you send a couple of cops so they're there when I'm doing it so they will know firsthand I haven't done anything to cause anybody any upset. And they'll know that firsthand. I did that same thing at the state building one time when I went over there to raise hell with several people in the legislature. I went down to the basement and went to the commander of the state police and said, this is what I'm going to go do. And these are all the people that I'm going to go raise hell with. And this is the document I'm going to use. And if you want to send somebody with me now, instead of being called every 5 minutes from every office I go to, might be better. And the boss cop female. She said, good idea. And she sent a guy with me. So when I went to the Beaverton School District to talk to them about it, and we talked, and they are not going to change their curriculum. Their curriculum is that vile curriculum they're teaching, and they're not going to change it. And they're not going to permit me to be on any school grounds ever. And if I show up at a school and they know it, they will have me trespassed and arrested again. And that includes the Beaverton School District's headquarters, where they are. And they made that decision in front of two cops. And I yield.
It reminds me of a story about old pirate movies and stuff, where they take over the island. There's a couple of ways you can take over the island. You can actually do it in the middle of the day where there's a lot of violence and bloodshed, especially if the people are armed, or you can do it as a thief in the night and take over the so-called authorities of the island and threaten their lives and their families to be quiet while they slowly take over the island because the people are armed, and you don't want to stir up the people because they're armed, and they'll understand what's going on. So I think that's what's happened in our country. Is it happened as a thief in the night about 150 years ago or so, and we're just now waking up to what's happened.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Need a few more thousand to wake up. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Schools train people to be ignorant with style. They give you the equipment that you need to be a functional ignoramus. American schools do not equip you to deal with things like logic. They don't give you the criteria by which to judge between good and bad in any medium or format. And they prepare you to be a usable victim for a military-industrial complex that needs manpower. As long as you're just smart enough to do a job and just dumb enough to swallow what they feed you, you're going to be all right. But if you go beyond that, you're going to have these grave doubts that give you stomach problems, headaches, make you want to go out and do something else. So I believe that schools mechanically and very specifically try and breed out any hint of creative thought in the kids that are coming up.
So what's the alternative for the parent who would agree with you?
Well, remember that the school isn't the only place that a child gets educated. If you realize that the schools are doing damage, and I believe this, I believe that schools do a lot of damage to kids, then you should do what you can at home to help give them something to counteract what's happening to them at school.
You mean encourage creativity?
Encourage them to read things other than what the school gives them. Encourage them to watch things on television other than cartoons, because I don't believe that television is all bad, and some things that are on are very useful. And give them some support. Let them feel that you as a parent want them to be smart, not just to be successful, not just to be a nice little person, that you want them to develop their thinking apparatus.
we have formed a common law court. And it's incumbent on us as people to know the different law forms. The one across the street is admiralty law, commercial law, and we are money makers for them from birth to death. They use us to make money in any way conceivable, and we comply because we don't know what else to do. So, to start out with the three basic law forms, there's natural law, which is God-given law, inviolable. It's the law of the land, beyond our common law. It's the absolute law of our Creator. We have common law, which is the law of the land. It started with Magna Carta, and we as people have rights, and we have sovereignty, and we make our own decisions, and that's what the Assembly has decided to establish ourselves and try to insert ourselves as a solution to the admiralty law, commercial law, color of law, which is across the street in the building, and we're here to arraign Kate Brown, Jeff Merkley, Ron Wyden, Jeff Merkley, and Suzanne Bonamici, who've all acquiesced to our notices, and our claims are going to be read today in the form of a presentment. So if you understand or can learn about the three primary law forms, we are common law. We formed our common law court, and we are at the stage now where we offered the presentment. They are supposed to be here to answer and object to our claims, and unless there is one of them here or a representative of Jeff, Ron, Suzanne, or Kate, please step forward. I see none coming. I'm going to read the presentment. Oregon, without the state of Oregon, within the United States of America, the constitutional Republican form of government. Contact Ronald Charles Ruman, General Delivery, Beaverton, Oregon, 97005. Phone number, 503-893-0793. Ron Fruman, 38@gmail.com. Docket number of this claim is, or this presentment, is 03092021A. This is to let the public know that our court's order to the Oregon True Bill to our Article 3 1 Supreme Court found within our Amendment 7 Common Law Court of Record in the form of a presentment from Oregon Statewide General Assembly's Civilian Court of Records Grand Jury. A public arraignment is scheduled outside, and here we are, across the street from 900 Court Street, Northeast Salem, Oregon, 97301 at 1 p.m. It's a good Saturday, April 3rd, 2021, and it's a 4-3-2-1 countdown. Notice to the agent is notice to the principal. Notice to the principal is notice to the agent. To the jury in our Amendment 7 Common Law Court of Record, from Ron Fruman, foreman of the Civilian Court of Record on Oregon's Grand Jury, found at the Oregon Statewide General Assembly, Oregon's Constitutional Article 1, Section 1, circa 1859, and Second Amendment well-regulated militia, with unlimited jurisdiction on Oregon. See Liber Code, Martial Law, and Ex Parte Milligan. Our bona fides are in order for perusal. Bless your higher self, all those encountered by or in contact with our court. An Article 3 1 Supreme Court claiming original jurisdiction found within Amendment 7 of the United States of America's Constitution, circa 1819 through 1860. We greet you and extend all the best of every good fortune for the good. We are the third-party beneficiaries of this document. We filed this presentment with the jury named in their de jure jurisdiction. Our grand jury found evidence in the public record that each of these four persons, Kate Brown, Suzanne Bonamici, Ron Wyden, and Jeff Merkley, as names they are known by, broke their oaths, have no honor, and cannot occupy a position of trust. Specifically, the United States of America's Constitution's Amendments 1, 2, 4th, 5th, 9th, 10th, and 13th, aka TONA.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying, and then he jumps out of the car, and he's got both his hands up.
And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, just shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, shot him 3 more times.